Let's bring promoter Vic Hill on the phone right now. Vic, how you doing? We appreciate you taking the time at the last minute notice here to come on Mostly Motorsports. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not promoter this week. I'm going to be race car driver again. I'm going to go to Smoky Mountain down there and make a lap or two.
All right. Well, good for you.
Race,
yeah. How long you been racing?
Oh gosh, since about in late model, since about 90, I guess 95, 93.
Wow.
So started out in limited late model, and then actually, like I said, this Volunteer Speedway, my engine shop's only 2 miles from there.
I see.
And I've raced there for 20-some years, and had a lot of success, and worked with Joe and Phyllis on a few races prior, and they had sold the place. And anyway, the guy that I actually had it, he couldn't do it. So it went back to Joe and Phyllis. And when it did, this was probably November area. Well, because I've been a big part of that place, is calling Vic, what's going on? Can we do this? Can we do that? And I called Phyllis and I said, look, these people are blowing me out of the water as if I own this place. She said, well, look, just tell them you do. Right now, I can't deal with it. I said, okay. So that's when Flo, Rigsby and Ben Shelton and all them came up with having this race with Larson involved. And so we worked out, the details of that. And at that point, I've got to go to the racetrack. Now, this is back, when it's cold and warm, so I'm going back and forth over there.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure of that place was really killed. Yeah. I mean, as far as equipment, lighting, everything.
Yeah.
So we have worked like mules, my wife, even my guys here at the race shop, some friends, and just worked to have this event. And it was a huge success.
Right.
But in reality, at the end of the day, when I got finished with this, just and some of it's my management problem, I lost money. And I know that's hard to believe.
Wow.
And it's not Flo's fault. So some rumors are out there that they did what they were supposed to do. But there's a way. I've talked to some other promoters and some other venues about doing some things to try to keep this place successful.
Right.
And we had a weekly show scheduled, and I looked at all the stuff that we did for this thing, and I said, man, if I lost money on this thing, a weekly show is going to kill us.
Right.
So what I'm doing is I'm still cleaning up from that race, just the mess that happens when you have an event that big.
Yeah. Wasn't that?
And we're going to have
I think that was your biggest event in 20 years, somebody said, right?
Oh, yeah. It was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And I mean, according to them, as far as their TV broadcast, it was the biggest one they had. I mean, it was a success on all those parts.
Yeah.
But as far as building the racetrack back up with money, it didn't do that for what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have some practices, and I've talked to, a few different, Ray Cook or Chris Tilley or Barry Braun, or a few people about events. And what I'm going to try to do, if someone wants to have an event there, basically I would just lease that turnkey. Now, their insurance, their everything,
right,
for a dollar amount, and I'll prep the track. I'll make sure the facility, the bathrooms work, all the grunt work of that, but not have to manage any concessions, any of their. It basically be their show completely, where I wasn't required to get insurance and ambulances and fire trucks and just all that stuff that goes along with that.
Yeah.
To simplify it to where, okay, at the end of the day, I know I made this much money that I can put back into this place. It definitely needs more.
Right.
And it's not a process that happens overnight.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying, if you were to lease the facility, you'd give them the concession and everything, not because most people.
I would give them, yeah.
Most people take the concession, right, when they lease the racetrack.
They do,
yeah.
But here's what happens with concession. Like we had phenomenal concession, but just with, I don't know, confusion or new people or whatever, when you put the numbers all out on paper, they didn't add up.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, it was I looked at the food that's left, and there's like nothing, some French fries and stuff like that. And with that, I should have made really good money. And I'm not saying people are stealing. I'm just saying that it's confusion. And I know the concession was absolutely packed, and maybe they were giving 2 cheeseburgers, and I know how confusing it is. And it's all new to people.
Right. Yeah.
So
no doubt.
to simplify that, at a later date, I may say, hey, I am going to do the concession. But right now, the people that are doing, that have done these races, they can handle all that, whether they lease it out and get a percentage or something like that. I've talked to Riley Hickman down at, I've talked to everybody about how they do things. And, it's almost like if you're going to do the concessions and do the whole show, you've got to be a family, not just a group of people thrown together.
Right. Vic, let me ask you a little question here. Before you took over the facility and you have the new owners in there, the prior owners and the people that ran that facility before, did they neglect the facility over the years?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And it was a shock to me when I got over there on what and I build race engines, not Caterpillar engines and things like that. And it's like, holy smokes. I had to actually pay people to come in, and there's still work to be done. The grader is still, it fills up with water, and it's a catastrophe. So there's got to be some new investments there, and you got to make money to do that.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. Has the city been on you about making some capital improvements on because sometimes they get in there and if they see you got a sewage problem or whatnot, has the city come to you and said you got to fix some few things before you can open up?
No, none whatsoever. There's not anything like that. It's
okay.
On city sewer and all that. All that was fine. When I talk about bathrooms and so on and so forth, it was plumbing, toilets, things, all the things that make the toilet work, replacing them,
hardware,
hinges on doors, and just all that. Yeah, a ton of plumbing. Like I went over and there were pipes busted, and so we fixed them. Well, then I turned the water on, and that we had that cold spell come through.
Yep.
I don't know, early April, whatever it was. So I go over, turn all the water off, winterize everything, go back, turn the water back on. So you're running around this facility, everything's good. Well, I leave. It was cold for a week, and I'm not there for a week. Well, the first sunny day, I'm back over there working on it, go down to the bottom.
Pipes broke.
And the concession stand looks like a lake. Like, oh, hell. And so I get the water shut down. I'm in there with a broom, and I'm sweeping water out of this thing. My phone rings, and it's the Mossheim Water Department. It said, you've used 77,000 gallons of water. I know.
Oh,
Shut
my
off.
gosh.
So people don't see that part of how this was a job. I mean, I put like 250 lights in the scoreboard because half them didn't work, and I put ballasts and the big expensive lights. That's a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
So it was just it was a success. It was disappointing for me, and like I said again, Flo Racing and Larson, they did nothing wrong.
Right.
There's a misconception that's out there right now that Flo just took all the money and ran. That is not the case.
Right. So
they did make money. It was a success. It was my end that wasn't.
Right.
The success from just unforeseen things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was out at your racetrack last year. I traveled the last 13 years with the Lucas Oil ASES National Sprint Car Tour, and I know when we came out there, our car count was the lowest I'd ever seen it in the 13 years that I'd been on the tour. But you had a huge crowd out there that night when we showed up out there.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to see the sprint cars. It turned out to be a pretty good show, but unfortunately, we didn't have enough cars out there. But just kind of give us a timeline of when you think that you're going to get this place back open, Vic. Do you have a frame that you're trying to work in?
I mean, I'd love to run 3 or 4 more events this year that are, whether it's a Southern Nationals or whatever it may be, just a big event to where we can keep the facility going, and then that gives us a wintertime or in the fall to do repairs so you can start next season on a fresh plate where you're not just jumping through your butt backwards trying to make it happen or worried about something, not doing what it's supposed to do. Turn the lights on, they don't come on. I mean, there's just a lot. The lights there run off a generator.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Power. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a huge thing. And that was the next thing. I looked at it, and believe it or not, I made sure it was full of oil and all that. And I had to replace, I had to clean it and then replace some water nuts and some things like that on it, and got us through this event. Well, I went back over there, and I took the air filter out of it and stuff like that. We hadn't had anything done to it since
Who knows?
19.
Yeah, who knows
19.
when? Right, yeah.
Right, and that's an expensive piece if it blows up.
Right.
And there are no lights. I mean, all the big center lights are run off that generator.
That could put you out of business almost.
Oh, yeah, or end the race.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd have been a catastrophe the other night with all those people. If the lights had gone boom and that thing had blown up.
Right.
So I just don't want to put myself in that. I don't want to roll the dice on that again.
Yeah.
So, Vic, this Kirk, they're still trying to sell the racetrack. It reverted back to its original owners. Just what is the process of trying to get the track sold?
Well, I had an appraisal done on the facility, and they're still definitely trying to sell it.
Yeah.
I've talked to one gentleman that may be interested in buying it, and if he does, this particular man has the equipment already that the facility needs and some things, and he would be more of just an outside management for it.
Right.
But right now, to sell as a functioning racetrack, there's some infrastructure things that need to be repaired before it's, quote, a functioning racetrack.
Gotcha.
Right.
That you're not, the way I described it to a lot of people, it looks like that it's been fixed with duct tape for the last 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like I hate to use this word, but it sounds like the owners that owned it prior to you guys coming in there was a slumlord. It's what it sounds like to me.
Well, and in their defense, if they're not making any money,
how can they
and
fix it?
they bought it to
Right.
make money, how can they fix it? And that's what
Right.
I'm trying not to do.
Right.
And they just walked away. They're like, look, this thing is overwhelming, and I'm done with it.
Right. Well, it's such a great facility, man. We hope that that everything comes through for you guys out there. When I went out there and saw that racetrack, I was just blown away with the banking and just the facility itself. And from the outside looking in, it didn't look that bad. But, from looking from the inside out, it sounds like it's much worse. Now, are you interested in, Vic, owning the racetrack yourself as just a single owner yourself? Are you wanting to do that?
I would entertain that, but I've got a very successful engine business that takes a lot of my time as well.
Yeah.
And I would have to have
somebody help you there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, it's just like this weekend. I'm going to go race. I still like to race every once in a while.
Right. Right. Are you running a super late model, or do you run a crate late model?
Oh, yeah. No, I run a super.
Yeah.
See, at Volunteer, I've won the championship at that track more than anyone in the history of the track. I mean, like I said, it's been my home track. It's 2 miles from me.
Oh, wow.
And, I love the facility. And that's why I was trying to do what I'm doing so it doesn't just go away, because it is a fabulous racetrack.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're trying to give back what it gave you. Much pleasure.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vic, we sure appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything that you want to get out? Because we've got 44 states and 9 countries that listen to this show every day. We're on Monday through Friday, starting at 12 noon Central Time. Is there anything out there? Because we've got a lot of people that listen out on the East Coast. Is there anything that you want to tell those people that are listening on the show right now to make sure that they understand that you want that facility to survive? Is there anything you need to convey to the listeners right now?
Well, basically, that they just understand where I am with trying to bring this place back to life. And it isn't, like I said, it isn't going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
I've got a few little irons in the fire that would be a success for the racetrack as far as financially, to bring back more money, like I said, to rebuild the infrastructure of that place.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to have.
Well, Vic, it sounds like it's
tell them just to keep their ears open and eyes open, and we get something going. There's definitely something that I'll get out there immediately.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't have a definite date for anything other than
Right.
some people leasing the place to come test, which keeps the track in good shape. You know,
Right.
that way it doesn't just sit there and rut up and turn into an old useless racetrack.
Just what you're trying to tell is everybody, don't get your panties in a wad. Just be patient,
Just be patient.
and you'll be back sooner than later. That's what you're hoping, right?